afraid of the dark and spiders under my bed. I got some trust issues, and I hate to say it, but I'm a real hothead. Is there anything else that I could conclude? Are mom and dad to blame for my bad attitude? In one ear and out my head, I never heard it when my parents said, do as I say, not as I do. Now I'm messed up cause I learned it from you. Do as I say, not as I do. Now I'm messed up cause I learned it from you. Yeah.
I'll be up there as soon as I'm done recording. You're using too much toilet paper. You can't do that. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Things are crazy around here. Welcome back, I hope, to episode 2 of I Learned It From You. And I've been going back and forth trying to figure out how to start these things. I mean, you guys are coming for the meat and potatoes. You want to hear the interview with the guest, right? So what I'm going to do each episode, so I'm not rambling about myself during the interview and the guests can talk about themselves, which is what we all want to hear, myself included. I don't want to talk about myself. I'm just going to do that a little bit in the introduction of every episode. And in doing so, hopefully it opens up me allowing the guests to tell their tales and me to become a better host and a better interviewer. All right. So today, basically what I'm going to do is tell you all about stories from my childhood, the way my parents did things with me and my brother, or I guess if you're an English grammatical language type of snob, my brother and I, hit Nickelodeon show. I should have known better, or was it not my brother and I? All I remember was there was one kid named Alfie, and he was like the trouble. He was like Steve Urkel if Steve Urkel were a troublemaker. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about stories from my childhood with my mom and dad and how they did things. And then I'm also going to tell you stories about what I do and my wife does as parents ourselves. We're really trying to figure the thing out, but mistakes have been made, and I'm okay with that. I can own up to that. Today, one story that just keeps popping up in my mind that I've been trying to tell is when I was a kid, I lived on a cul-de-sac amongst a bunch of houses, and I had 3 or 4 friends on the block, which was very nice. I had a lot of people that I could hang out with. But what we would do, we would ride our bikes. I was a kid of the 90s. You got on and my bike was badass. It was a Batman bike. It was red and black and gray with like little blue pinstripes. And there were also like these bat fins that were cardboard taped on to each side of the back. It was like a little mini Batmobile. And I loved the bike. It was my first bike. It was the one that had the training wheels, and then the training wheels came off. We went through a lot together. And this is the type of bike that I trusted because it was back before everybody was saying, wear a helmet, wear a helmet, wear a helmet. I wasn't wearing a helmet. I have this hair. It was just blowing through the breeze. Okay. People would see me riding down and they'd be like, oh, I bet you his name is Joe because he looks like a Joe Cool. That's how great my hair was. So I love this bike, but I was kind of a little shithead. I came from a house of privilege. My mom and dad, we never really had to want for anything. My dad was, a great provider. My mom did a wonderful job staying there with my brother and I, raising us, and we never had to want for anything. But I was spoiled as a result, and I didn't know that was the case until I was a little bit older, and now I'm trying to teach my kids not to be spoiled. But I never put my things away. And it chapped my dad's ass. He would always tell me, because I would always ride my bike home, and then I would put it in the grass, and he would be like, you put your bike away or someone's going to steal it. Now, I lived in the suburbs, okay? I lived 45 minutes outside of Detroit, surrounded by what was essentially the Peach Pit from Beverly Hills 90210. There was a little ice cream store. It was a safe place, okay? There was barely any crime being taken place outside of the hooligan teenagers that I would later become garage hopping, trying to steal alcohol. Anyway, he would tell me, if you don't put your bike away, someone's going to steal it. And he he was right. He told me that. I mean, it took a while for it to actually happen. I would always ride up, put my bike in the yard, go inside, have dinner, go to bed, wake up, pick it up, go back out, do my thing. It was my routine. But then one day, after he had told me like 15, 16 times, it was gone. I went out after breakfast and the bike was gone. I ran inside. I was like, Mom, Dad, someone stole my bike. And my dad's just sitting there and like he's shaking his head. And I'm surprised he didn't bite my head off. He was just like, I told you this was going to happen. And my mom's doing that weird, like, you should have listened to your father, that whole thing. And I was distraught. My friends were riding their bike. My brother was riding his bike and I was walking. I mean, I tried rollerblading. I tried roller skating. I tried running with them. But I mean, look at me now. I'm a heavy set man and I was a heavy set child. My cardiovascular endurance was never tip top shape. I didn't have a bike. I didn't have a bike anymore. And it lasted for like 3.5 weeks that I didn't have a bike. And I remember I got in trouble for something else. My dad grounded me and he made me go to work with him. He owned a stained glass studio. So he would have me clean all the windows that he had just finished. And I remember looking for some cleaning supplies at the store. And I walked in and to teach me a lesson. My dad was the motherfucker who stole my bike. He just, one night I went to bed, he took the bike and he threw it in his truck and he took it and he kept it and he laid this lie for almost a month until I found it. And then I was at the shop and I rolled my bike out and I was like, Dad, did you steal my bike? And he just like villainously, he was just like, bet you'll never do that again, son. My dad was motherfucking Kaiser Soze, okay? He was the criminal the whole time and he had spun this web just trying to teach me a lesson. And now I don't, and now I put my things away. So I guess lesson received. I'm sure as these episodes go on, I'll talk more and more about that because it's one of the memories that I remember most. But that's the little tidbit for today. Before I get into introducing our guest this week, who I'm very, very excited about, I wanted to tell you that I've got some more stand-up dates coming. And if you'd like to come see me live, I would love that. Not October, Friday, August 13th. I'm going to be at the Copper Whale Winery. And that's somewhere in Ohio, northern Ohio, near the border of Michigan. I'm not sure yet. I need to do some more research on where I will be heading. And then on August 14th, boom, going up to the west side of Michigan, just outside of Traverse City, Michigan, to the Foundry. I'm very excited about that show. It's going to be a wonderful time. And then if you're interested, August 15th, I will be back Metro Detroit area at the Gravcap Brewing Co., which is in Oxford, Michigan. Thereafter, I will be heading out to Iowa, August 20th and 21st. I'll be one of the headliners at the Alternating Currents Festival. And then August 21st is the last day of that festival. The 22nd, I'm heading over to the Renwick Mansion for Tomfoolery on Tremont. Always a fun show because the house is haunted. So that'll be a great time. Let's get into it, okay? Today's guest is none other than one of my dear friends, Samantha Rager, or Rager, R-A-G-E-R. You decide how to pronounce it. Actually, don't. I should probably ask her and tell you the proper pronunciation, but it's Rager or Rager. I've always called it Rager because to me, she gives off the vibe of just like the sweetest party animal in the world. Her comedy, in my opinion, is second to none. She's just got this darkness about her, but she delivers these dark jokes in the most delightful way. She is one of my favorite comics. If you ever get the chance to see her live, absolutely check it out. She has an album out, if you don't want to wait to see her live, called Trigger Warning, which is terrific. I've listened, and I think you should do the same. And if you're looking for a little bit more with Sam, she hosts a podcast on the Helium Podcast Network called My Eulogies, Please, where they eulogize fictional characters. And I am looking forward to this chat. So, Samantha Rager, hey there, hi there. And it's the second episode of I Learned It From You. However, I am toying with the idea of changing the name, but I think I'm going to stick with I Learned It From You. And on this second episode, it is my very good friend and comedian Samantha Rager. How are you, Sam?
I am doing splendid. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm super excited to dive into this discussion with you because just based on correct me if I'm wrong, your album's called Trigger Warning?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, if you have not heard Sam's album, Trigger Warning, you should definitely go listen to it and you will see why I'm so excited to have this conversation. She has a way of telling stories and we are going to have a lot of fun today. Also, she's got a podcast of her own on the Helium Podcast Network called My Eulogies, which is a very fun idea. Sam, what is it? I'm not going to talk about what that's about. That's your baby. You tell me what it's about.
My Eulogies, Please is a comedy fiction podcast. So I play the role of an undertaker, and I have bugged the funeral homes, and I have my intern helping me play these eulogies. They're all fictional characters that exist, yet are somehow in the same universe. So we've had Scooby-Doo and Spider-Man and Goldilocks, a bunch of different characters.
Such a fun original idea that lives in the realm of complete fiction, but at the same time, like just so dark. I love how dark it is. And we're talking about like dead bodies. And I'm going to say it's a fresh idea about dead bodies. You didn't think you could put the ideas together, but here we are. And you should definitely all go listen to that, but definitely check out her on her album Trigger Warning and follow her on social media. I think it's at Sam Rager.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do that.
Yeah, that would be great. And on Twitter, it's at SG Rager. I wish I had aligned all of those when I made them, so it'd be easier to tag.
I did when I started doing comedy. I started with at Zach with a Z, and I really quickly realized how dumb that was. Because why wouldn't I just do my name across the board? I'm with you 100%. I'm still trying to get Zach Martina on Instagram, which is me, but then I switched it to Zach with a Z, and now it has to be Zach.Martina because Zach Martina, even though I've proved my identity, they won't give it back to me. And I hate Instagram for it, but it is my preferred platform.
It is it's a nice little getaway. Just all pictures. Just all happy little.
Everybody's curating their own museum of life.
Yeah.
And then you go to their house and you hear how they talk to their spouses and he's like, you're not that happy. Who knew how much filters on Instagram would be like just filters for life? It's not just visual. It's like, no, this is a sepia relationship for sure.
If only we could get some like action shots of like fights, like TikToks of people arguing like real time.
Real time is key because these stupid prank videos, these reels that everyone's like, look what I did to my grandma, look what I did to my boyfriend. It's like, this is staged, okay? I can't stand that. And everyone's like, oh my God, they're so ice cold. They're just the nastiest people. How could you do that to your grandmother? I bet it was her idea. Old people are sick and sadistic, and they're like, well, I'm not gonna get the count, but you can get the likes, dear. This is for me forgetting your birthday because I'm senile.
Best birthday gift ever. Social media. Social media likes.
But this is all about like lessons we've learned from our parents. I was thinking about my dad quite a bit yesterday, and my dad, I found out recently, I never knew until I was like 18, but he smoked weed every single day.
Did he have a nickname for it?
No, he just never really mentioned it. And then all of a sudden he would come back. I know when he passed away, I think I might've mentioned this on, recently, but, he gave me a mason jar full of weed. Like that was one of the things he left to me. And it was one of the biggest mason jars I've ever seen.
Are you keeping it for posterity, or did you use any
Oh
of
no,
it?
that we smoked that up pretty quick.
Was it good? Was it good quality?
It was great. It was great weed, and we smoked it up pretty quick. And I did it in an effort to remember my father, but the weed was so good. There's not much about those experiences that I do, in fact, remember. Did you like my? So yeah, my dad, his preferred drug was weed. My mom, I'd say her preferred drugs were those of prescription quality and booze. I think everybody has a little something to take the edge off. I'll dabble in weed quite a bit, but my drug of choice is certainly food. When things get tough, I just love to shovel food into my mouth.
Yeah, food for me as well, because I look at the calorie count of booze and I was like, I get way more satisfaction and feel more in control of my actions still when I eat a box of Little Debbie's than I would out of like 3 shots of vodka.
Also, the poison that is alcohol, it doesn't taste good. I don't care what anyone says. Every once in a while, I'll think like, oh, a beer would be refreshing. It'll taste very good. Alcohol doesn't taste good at all. It is simply, it's a poison to make you forget what you're feeling. That's all it is.
Yeah. So I like have stayed away for the most part. Like I used it heavily in college, just out of spite, I think.
Sure.
But my parents, because my mom struggled with addiction to like Oxy, and other prescription medications when I was in high school, I veered away from that kind of stuff, and I like needed to be in control because I didn't like seeing how she was when she would OD on stuff.
Sure. I can agree with
And
that. Definitely, like, you look at, because I looked at my mom particularly the same way, like as a cautionary tale, like, oh no, I've seen what it can do. I don't want any part of that.
yeah, 100%. That was it. I was like, oh wow, this is just like relationship issues too. I was like, oh, my mom and dad's marriage taught me so many red flags to look for.
This podcast should be called Do As I Say, Not As I Do, because that's what every story revolves around. It's like, no, they said to do this, but they did this. It was just,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That what was the mad moms against drunk
drunk
driving?
driving.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was SAD, which was Students Against Drunk Driving. And then, like, I don't know, there were just, why couldn't it just be PAD? And it's just like People Against Drunk Driving. Why do we have to have all these different factions?
Man, that's what Uber and Lyft should have made their name like acronym for.
Yeah. DAD, Drivers Against Drunk Driving. But I don't know. Drivers Against Drunk Driving would come in handy, not even just for drunk, but for drugs as well. Like, I don't know what the D would go for, but Dads Against Drugged and Drunk Driving, just a dad, like a 3D at the end, like almost a stutter. You got to hit a stutter to do it. I'm a member of Dad.
That is how. So my mom's overdosing in high school. So I was like 14 or 15 at the time, and that's how I got like a ton of my driver's ed hours, is like driving her to the ER.
Your mom didn't sign off on your hour log, but the doctor did. So how much of it were you around? Like when you were growing up? I know there's this one joke that I don't want to butcher, but like I know people would come to the door and you would answer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my parents, before my mom got addicted to the opioids, they sold them for almost all of I can remember of my childhood. They were trying to get some extra cash, and anytime that like they would run out, And they didn't want to like make a confrontation about it. They would send my sister and myself to the door, mostly me, because I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I was like, a 7-year-old should not be answering a door for someone going through withdrawals.
Yeah, especially with bad news. Imagine cute little Sam just like, sorry, we're all out. Like, what? This guy's tweaking. He's itching his shoulders and everything. He's got no control over his inhibitions. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you have any specific memories like regarding that?
Not a ton. I remember in middle school just like making up excuses like, oh, they're at parent teacher conferences. And then he was like, they they don't have those. And I was like, do you have kids? Nope. Then like I was so mean to the people.
Just outsmarting, like a child outsmarting these people that are not within their wits. I love that you had the presence of mind as a young child to like, you're like, no, I can definitely hold my own against these people. I will outwit these fools in a heartbeat, which probably has a lot to do with your comedy. You're so quick and like just can turn a phrase. So you see things so wonderfully. And I have to imagine face to face with just people fiending out. You had to. Your back was against the wall.
Oh man, I wish I was nicer, I guess, at the time, but I was start becoming self-righteous as a teenager and was like, we shouldn't be doing this. This is like wrong. It's aiding an addiction and it's illegal. So I was just like very angry and I was like mean towards both my parents and the people, but like I would give him grief. Like one of the people they sold to, like his hairstyle was probably from the last time he could remember. So it was very like a Jerry curl, like a
Jerry
blonde.
curl?
Yeah, a blonde Jerry curl. And he wore just Hawaiian shirts. Like unironically, like this was in the early aughts before it was like cool again. Like it was.
Tommy Bahama hadn't made a name for himself yet. Yeah.
Acid washed jean jorts. Acid washed jorts.
Oh my gosh. Were they frayed or were like they bought and hemmed? Or were they cutoffs? I hope cutoffs.
They were bought and hemmed.
Oh, nice.
Yes. This guy though, he was like he came from like the lap of luxury in that area. So like his parents, even though he was like in his 30s or 40s, his parents were still like funneling his addiction.
Because as I said, I do believe I've said this before and I will say it again. When you have parents from a place of like privilege that don't want to deal with like mom and dad, you are loved. Like that is a home with love, regardless of the trials and tribulations that go through the family. Mom and dad, that is a home full of love. Mother and father are not loving parents. They are legal guardians at best. They're like, no, I don't want to deal with you. Go get what you need and pick up some Jerry curl juice on the way. Because I was wondering, how could he afford the drugs and the Jerry curl juice? You got to make a decision if you're doing it on your own. But now I know his parents aiding and abetting.
Yeah. They're like, just go have fun at the arcade and just do whatever you do when you go out. My parents, they like called their products wrenches and sockets and like very like obvious things that you're like, if you were listening on a phone, you're like, they're clearly talking. The only way they're cloaking it is just submitting these words. But other than that, they're using it in context of drugs.
They're like, and I feel like anytime anyone uses code words like that, they always say it in a tone. They're like, and we have, because this is before texting, right? So they're like, and we have plenty of sockets. Like it's never a conversation you'd hear in a hardware store. No, you know what you're gonna need? You're gonna need an 1/8-inch crescent wrench and then probably a socket set. It's always like, I need some sockets. And like it's
yeah, my mom said it like how she would say Jesus. Like She taught catechism and she was a librarian. So like, yeah, it's almost like she was doing her lessons.
You should, what a sketch it would be to do, like, if she had like a hollowed out book, like that was her, she had this overdue library book and she had just hollowed them out. And she's like, here's a nice piece of fiction. Instead of sockets, it was like fiction. Here's some fiction for you. Have you looked over these papers?
I'm trying to like think of like wordplay too, something involving like the Hardy Boys or
or Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
What if they were the ones trying to solve the crime? What if Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys were the ones who would like bugged the house and were listening for words like wrench and socket? We should write us like not a spec script, but our own version of Hardy Boys Nancy Drew and like solving that case.
Yes. Street crime, suburban street crime.
And it's during your time of like in teen when you said you were a little bit self-righteous, so you were kind of like a mole from the inside. You know, you're feeding them info. But the only reason you're feeding them info is because it's Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. What can they actually do except tell an adult?
Yeah.
Right? Why were Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys such avid mystery solvers and had such a reputation, but these are children. No one believes kids.
Yeah, you went in a much nicer way than I did. I was like, they'd be easy to get rid of.
We got a basement. Hell, it's not even a basement. It's a stellar.
Children get lost all the time.
Children run away. You've seen the milk cartons.
You've seen clothing racks.
Oh my gosh. That would be a real fun thing. I talked about it too. Like, it's so scary to think of kids missing, especially like from my perspective as a parent. It's the most terrifying thing in the world. But you do, like, I don't know. You sometimes you just want to break, but you never want them to go away. But in like a split second, you're just like, I would, if I found out that a person had kidnapped my kids, I would go first on care.com to see if they are listed as a babysitter, and then I would just pay their rate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they weren't on care.com, I would get involved. I would find them. But if I found out somehow that the people that kidnapped my kids were babysitters, I would just go on a date.
Oh, that is perfect. Do you think they would send you their rate, or do you think they would try to? I
mean, I think they would call it a ransom over a rate, but
my hourly ransom is.
There's one thing I've learned about babysitters: you can always negotiate. Oh, your ransom is this? How about this? I'm gonna give you $12 an hour. 15, fine. I'll give you $17 an hour, but they're gonna need to have some pizza. Okay, I need you to feed them.
What's that? There used to be like game shows where people would like drive around and like get snatched up. They'd be like surprised, and then nope. Is it just?
I know what you're talking about. Like, but it feels like one of those dating shows.
Yeah, maybe if they had that with kids, where like they would surprise parents and just like grab their kids for.
Or how about
like
surprise
2
the
hours.
kids and then just grab the parents? A van pulls up on a busy street, and then they just take the parents, and the kids are just left there.
They have to like guess things like, how long can your parents survive without water and food?
Yeah, there's just some Saw character. There's just some Saw puppet that like comes onto their phone screen. Oh my God. I don't know. The driving thing though, like my dad, I always used to go on car rides with him. He'd always threaten to like leave me places. I remember one time I was out with some friends. I was young, like 8 or 9, and their older brother, I was in the car, and their older brother just left them at the video store. And I thought it was the funniest thing, but we came back and those kids were horrified. My dad used to do the same thing. He would be like, no, I'm going to leave you there. I'm going to leave you. I do it to my kids. I'm like, no, I'm going to leave you here. But you build a relationship so you know what like the joke, like my dad would always say, I'm going to leave you there. I'm like, fine, leave me here. Just so I don't have to wait 8 hours to pee again because you won't stop the goddamn car.
Yes. Oh, my dad. Wait, we would take these really long road trips because my mom had to have surgery at a hospital in Colorado. So it's about a 22-hour drive each way. And we had to do that every 6 to 8 weeks. And my dad became like obsessed with trying to beat his own time. And I think the fastest he was ever able to do it was in 20 hours. But it would be like a drill. Like every time we stopped to use the restroom, it was like, run, like hurry, you better not browse at the gummy snacks, like go as fast as you can. Don't try to take the time to TP the seat. We're on a mission.
Sit or hover. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. And it's like, man, this is not healthy for blood clots. The woman just had surgery. My dad ended up getting a few blood clots from it. But
from those drives?
Yeah. Lesson now.
He tells stories of them fondly. Like you see one, you're like, what is that? You're like, oh, that saved me 45 minutes. Like that 45 cut, that clock cut 45 minutes off my top time.
Oh, I've become so crazy competitive though when I'm driving with my own body. Like I'm like, okay, I need to go 150 miles before I can pee. Or I need to hit the state welcome sign before I can go use the restroom.
I'm the same way. I am. I'll be like, I will empty out is when I need to fill up. You know what I mean? I will only go pee if I need to get gas.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to give myself a UTI one of these days. I just got a Prius. Like,
you're like, I think I could fashion some sort of camel bag to make this work. I don't need to stop. I can last as long as this Prius. Thanks, Camel Pack.
I'll be like that one astronaut who like just popped a diaper.
I do that with my kids though too. I'm like, whenever we go on a road trip, sometimes if I'm on the road doing shows, I will take them so we can go see a cool city as a family during the day, and then I'll do the shows at night. But anytime Emily or Carmen or Lena are like, I have to go to the bathroom, like you can hear me audibly go. And then I think about how many exits I can get away with before I actually have to stop. They say I have to pee. I will usually push it 10 to 12 exits.
10 to 12 exits. That's a good, you've gotten some good mileage under 10 to do it. Oh, when I try to like go glance over and see if it's visible that they're holding it. Like if I'll glance over to the passenger, and if they're like visibly upset, then I'll be like, okay, I'll pull over. But like each exit, I'm looking over like, oh, they look still calm.
They're not biting their lip yet. They're not crossing their legs. They're not hunched over. Have you ever had it happen too, where you go like you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go 10 more exits and then I'm gonna hit there, and then you get to this stretch where it's like there's nothing?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then I'm like just trying to like wiggle in my seat, like I can do it. I can like and then seeing like how many cars are in the area, is it possible for me to pull off and be able to just like swagger into the
I've peed on so many off ramps because I'm like, I just can't hold it anymore. I'll throw my hazards on under the cover of darkness and I will just pee on the other side of my car. I'm like, if I get a ticket, I get a ticket. But like, I'm like, I'll cut it off if I have to. They can't prove anything.
I have peed myself so many times in not in the car, in the gas station or store that I was trying to find a bathroom in.
I can usually hold, this has gone into real potty humor, but I can usually hold pee, but like when it's a number two, when a turtle's trying to stick its little head out of its shell, that is a full-on emergency. Like I move so fast that if I were a Looney Tune, you would see the smoke from where because like I'm in this like tiptoe plie ballet position, prancing through the Shell gas station, praying to God that one of those stalls is open. That is the worst feeling. It's just like, this is coming. You can't stop it. I hate that shit, literally and figuratively.
Yes. Oh, so I have also not been able to control that as well as I wanted to. Even in like meetings, like Zoom meeting, not right now, but like
She says from her car. You're like, actually, I did park at a rest stop just in case.
I'm like thinking now too. So I'm away from home right now, and I had a Zoom meeting go awry this past weekend, and didn't make it. And I meant to like move the undies. I'd meant to clean them before I had to leave. Before Santiago, my boyfriend, gets back home, but he's gonna make it home before me tonight. They're just right there in the middle of the bedroom.
Oh my gosh. One time when Lena was 6, not too old, no, because she's 9, she's 8 now. So she was like 3 or 4. It was one of the like Emily and I had taken her out to Buffalo Wild Wings for lunch, and those things ran right through me. And I was wearing khaki pants because I was still working an office job at this point. And I remember dropping them off, going in to say goodbye, and then I turned around to leave. I didn't have any time before it just came out. She was there, and in her little 3-year-old voice, she goes, "Dak, I think you pooped your pants." And I did. I was lucky I was home, but it just happened. There was no warning. I wish there was like an emergency broadcast system for bodily functions. Like an emergency bodily function system. Like, this is a tornado warning. Hey, we've got a poop watch here. There's a good chance that this is going to run through you pretty quick. Make sure that you're aware. We got a poop warning. It's on its way out. We got a pee warning. You better find a comfortable position to fold that bladder. It's origami. You got to make origami with your bladder just so it holds in there.
Yeah, for me, it's like all or nothing too. And that was like another thing. Like my parents would try to like, with them rushing us in the bathroom, I was like, well, pooping just takes too much time. When I was 9, and then I just held it for 3 months. I
did the same thing. I did not like sitting on the can for that long. So I was like, oh, a turd came out. I'm done. And then I ended up getting this, like my bowels were so compacted. I remember going into the doctor complaining of stomach aches. He shows me this x-ray. He goes, "You see that big cloud right there?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "That's all poop. You need to sit on the toilet longer." That's what he told me. And then he told me I had an unusually big head.
What?
Yeah, he goes, "Yeah, it's all poop.
Is that
you need to
like
sit on
his
there a little
medical
longer."
opinion?
Yeah, he goes, "You need to sit on the toilet a little longer." And then just before I'm leaving, I remember clear as day. He goes, "You got a really big head. Who's got a big head in your family?" And I thought I was being real quick, and I go, "Just because I'm so smart." And he didn't laugh, and I was like, "Oh no, now I have a complex."
Were you like in elementary school too?
When that happened?
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I did not get accused of having a big head. I just made several nurses start dry heaving because they had to manually remove it. My dad had to take me to the ER. And
like an operation, or are we talking like an enema? I don't know who's listening to this right now, but we are getting to know everything about us right now. I guess this is great that this is the number 2 episode of the podcast. Oh,
no, like they did a lot. They did a lot. It was too compacted for them to do an enema right away. So they had to put on some gloves and punch in for
and punch in. She says, "I love that." Oh my god! Did you feel feel such instant relief after, though? Did you feel instantly better?
No, because that lasted like 3 hours. It was, and they had to rotate in between groups. They're like, okay, the smell is just too much. And then my dad is like, I love you, baby girl, but I can't take this anymore. And he left the ER as well. There were people with like gunshot wounds who he had walked by on the way there that were shouting, "Oh my God, what is that smell?"
And then you're like, Dad, this is why you let me stop to go to the bathroom when we're on trips.
Oh, and I did have to wear a diaper for 3 months after that. The rest of 4th grade, I had to ride out in a diaper.
Oh no, in 4th grade, kids are fucking mean.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was 3rd grade, but still, that's also prime mean kid age. But my parents changed it, even though I was like, I probably could have done that. Like in retrospect, I'm like, I'm not sure why I was like, I just laid there and let him do it. I'm old enough to reach the taps.
Every time they're doing it, you're just looking up, imagining a mobile from back in the day, thinking of simpler times. Like it was just nostalgic for you. If it makes you feel any better, I had to get surgery in January of this year to have some pilonidal cysts removed. And in order for them not to come back, there are these sacks of hair that reside at the bottom of your tailbone. And then, so they removed them, but they didn't sew up the wound because it was a risk that it would come back. So for the last 8 weeks, Emily has been plugging and unplugging my butt. And because the bandages are so puffy, she is also wiping my ass. So I'm a grown ass man. You're in third grade. I'm just saying. And she's doing the exact same thing your dad was doing. She's like, it smells so bad. It smells, Zach, I can't do this. And I'm like, well, I'm glad we're living in a world where masks are a requirement. Put on your goddamn mask. You think I like this? I don't like this. I want to wipe my own butt.
Oh my gosh. This should be also this should be a tip for listeners of what to put in vows, because should definitely be
that is love. There is no question that is love. But at the same time, I now know how much she loves me, but I also can't look her in the eye.
Oh, did it hurt? Did you both know going in that this would be like what the wound care situation would be like?
We knew what the wound care situation would be like. We did not know that it would go as far as her needing to wipe my butt. And then for 6 weeks, she also had to put on a rubber glove and like scrub my butthole. So like that all happened. We didn't know that was going to happen. We knew that she was going to have to plug and unplug the wound, but my doctor really made it seem like it was going to be 2 weeks tops. And we are over 2 months at this point. Lena's got this little like gymnastics cheese mat that I have to like bend over so my ass is elevated so Emily can have like a bird's eye view on it and properly plug it.
Oh my gosh, you both could be making some bank on OnlyFans with that.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Oh, I feel, and I'm saying, like not disgusted, but like what an opportunity missed when my shows have all been canceled. All a comedian wants is a following. I don't care if they want to see my butt being plugged. I don't care. If it needs to happen anyway. But then, like, I always worry with those OnlyFans things that, like, when the payment comes or something, that someone's going to steal my identity somehow. Like, I don't know that I can trust. I don't trust mobile banking, or the Venmo twitches me out. Like I don't like it. I feel like I'm going to get my identity stolen.
Yeah, you should be worried. But most identity theft though happens from parents. Like my dad.
Is that like statistically?
Yeah, statistically, most are parents who steal their kids. And yeah, so like that's anytime the FBI investigates like a minor's identity theft, it's like they always start with
oh yeah, because like that was all a big part of that whole Britney Spears documentary, right? Her dad did that to him, and like Macaulay Culkin's parents were doing it back. Oh my God, I didn't know that.
So my dad, we were like crazy poor growing up. So both my parents, with their combined checks from the state, we only made $6,000 for like a family of 4. So that's why they were selling drugs. And then it was my dad's idea to start. He started using my identity, and
Using it, like using an ID with your picture on it to prove his age. Like what? When you say using it, it makes it seem like, oh, I couldn't find my license, so here's a picture of Sam. Give me some booze. Come on, I'm a dad. Like using your identity because he couldn't prove he was 21, but it's like, no, this is my daughter. It's us. I'm an adult. Give me my booze. Like, what do you mean using your identity?
Oh, he was buying so much from like Home Shopping Network and Sears and QVC. At first I was like, I tried to justify it for being like, well, he was like trying to support us. I was like, a lot of that holiday figurine set isn't a necessity for a family.
Yeah, why do we have so many of these depressed hobo clown statues? How old were you when he was doing this?
He started before I can even remember, and then he continued until I was 16 or 17 and was wanting to apply for scholarships and student loans. And then my aunt ran my credit for me, and she's like, not to alarm you, but you are...
Which instantly sets off the alarm bells.
Yeah.
Like, oh God.
She's like, you're $100,000 in debt.
$100,000?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I can't even fathom that amount of money. Second of all, I can't imagine you as a child having these packages delivered to you from like a Home Shopping Network or QVC, because anytime my 8 or 10-year-old daughter receive mail with their name on it, it is the biggest deal in the world. They're like,
yeah,
oh, this is mine.
I would get so excited. I was like, I got letters. It has like red, angry looking font on the front, but it's for me. And my parents were like, just ignore it.
Hey, oh, this is Samantha, right? What does final notice mean?
Yes. Oh
So
my God.
What did you do? I mean, $100,000 in the red. How did you do?
I had to initially file for all that stuff to be taken off of my credit report as much as I could. And then I had to represent myself in court at the age of 18 is when I like started. Because a lot of these companies would still try to get money out of me, and I was like, "We can play this game." This little figurine was bought when I was 8, according to this date. We can go in front of the judge, and I didn't have to do anything. Like the judge would look at me, and he's like, "This case is dismissed." But I felt pretty tough being like going in there lawyerless. Also stupid. But
that is why I would read anything you ever wrote that's autobiographical. You have such a gift for taking such an unorthodox like events that I couldn't imagine and then making them so presentable, and like you never ever put yourself off as the victim. Like it's just this entertaining story that you've come out better for on the other side of. I would read absolutely anything you wrote. And again, for anyone that hasn't, you should absolutely listen to her album and podcast, because this is what Sam brings to the table. One of my favorite people to talk to.
Thank you so much for letting me delve back into my childhood.
Oh, we're not done yet. Do you have any desire to have children?
Me, I did for a really long time.
Got a bunch of nephews and nieces.
Yeah, I have 4 nephews and 1 niece now, and I love them so much, but I enjoy the simplicity of not having kids right now.
Being able to clock out.
Yes. I think if I would want to have kids, it'd be later, just
Mhm.
because I don't think I have enough time right now to actually give them.
Yeah.
Or potentially adopting kids or fostering them too.
For sure. Well, I think you would be. I think you would just be a wonderful parent, and I would love to. Based on how my kids' sense of humors have turned out, I would love to hang out with your kids. Based on how I see mine have turned out, like your kids would be the realest, coolest people out there. I would love it so much.
Thank you. I
My
hope
kids
they
love
would
you, by the way. I told them that I was sitting down to talk with you about this today, and every time I bring up your name, they're like, Sam, and I'm not lying. Their eyes get big and they go, Sam. They always say that.
They are the best. I had so much fun playing games with them at Chuck E. Cheese a couple of years ago. And then playing house, or not, well, mostly playing doctor. I guess it was more like playing hospital. Where we, like Kent and I, would just be like on the ground, and
This explains why you came. Like, I thought it was weird at the time, but now it's not so weird that you were complaining to my daughters about impacted bowels. I thought that was weird, but it's like, oh no, that just happened. No, just kidding.
Be like, from my childhood to yours.
my at that time, Lena and Carmen are like, just eat some apricots. Like, I don't know. Well, are you doing any live stuff soon? Are you doing any live shows?
March 10th, I'll be doing a live podcast recording of My Eulogies, Please, at the Helium in Indianapolis.
Great.
And that's at 8 p.m. And
are you doing it upstairs?
That's a good question.
Upstairs stage is, I mean, the downstairs stage is absolutely beautiful, but the upstairs stage, I worked there for a weekend just before I recorded my last album. That room is electric. Oh my God. For them to have a second stage of that quality is incredible. And while I think it would be awesome if you were doing it on the downstairs stage, I want you so badly to be able to do it upstairs, because the energy in that room is just bananas.
Yeah. Then I hope it's that stage then.
Just a nice little 60-seater. Oh, it's perfect.
I'm excited. It's going to be interesting because instead of a 20-minute podcast, we had to stretch it to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to have twice as many comics, and then half of them are going to be eulogizing characters that are from audience suggestions.
Oh, cool. So it'll be like an improv thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know when this is going to come out, so if it's after March 10th, I apologize. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think my reach, my fan base makes it very far into Indianapolis. So I don't know how much help I would have been. That said,
it could.
I do think everybody should absolutely listen to the podcast, listen to your album. I cannot stress that enough. And I will end this as I have, and I'm going to end all of them. It's just with a phrase that my dad always said. It's the one thing, if he had a catchphrase, it is just, everyone out there, ABC, always be cool. That's what my dad said all the time. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time. I cannot wait to sit down and hopefully do this again in the near future, because like I said, your stories are some of my favorites. So
thank you. I had a blast, and I will try to be cool. So
you don't need to try. It comes naturally to you. Just ask my daughters.
And that concludes this week's edition of I Learned It From You. And I'll leave you with a little quote that my father used to say to me every single day. Give a person an episode and they listen for a day, but if they rate, review, and subscribe, then they're listening for a lifetime. So I beg of you, please rate, review, tell your friends, and for the love of God, subscribe. I Learned It From You is hosted by me, Zach Martina, with music by Brad Goff, produced by Brett Mercer, and graphic design by Trevor Smith.